Okay, so I'm going to share our screen. Welcome back to our second session of, make sure I have this on here at Book Club. Here it is. Okay, and I'm just going to pull the chat down as well. So if you have anything you want to ask me during the session, please feel free to ask me at any time. Just like put it in the chat. We can talk. Feel free. Um, if you want your camera on, obviously, I feel like, hey, I feel a little more connected to you if you have your camera on. If not, if you're doing other things, I totally get it. And it's not a good time to have the camera on. I understand as well. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. I'm just going to pull down some of these things here. Okay, and I'm going to make sure I have the chat open as well. Okay, it's open. All right, so this is chapter 2. Hi, Vincent. Okay, so chapter 2 talks about just self-control, the power of self-control and what that looks like. And so, just to start us off, it talks about that we often think others need to change. And I don't know about you, but when something is uncomfortable and somebody does something to bother me, I immediately think they need to change and it's not me. I want them to be the change. And so I'm thinking about kids. A behavior comes, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, this needs to change. You need to change your behavior. And so we need to become the person we want our children to be, which requires self-control. So that's the thing, is the hardest part is that we cannot make our child change. We have to be the ones that model it in order for them to see what we're doing and know what we want them to do and how we want them to be in this world. So let me go to the next slide. So let me talk about what is self-control. Self-control is the ability to control oneself, in particular, one's emotions and desires, or the expression of them in one's behavior, especially in difficult situations. So, I think about, gosh, self-control is so key to when we're dealing with just other humans, but especially in our children. I think when we are able to control ourselves and be aware of what our body's feeling, and we'll go into this more in a little bit, but it's basically just stopping yourself and going, what am I feeling right now in this moment? Why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling embarrassed? Whatever, name the feeling and stop for a second and think, what is it that's causing me to feel so frustrated or whatever, so then we can move into the behavior and how to handle it. But if we go right into it and we have no self-control, the problem is that we end up just blurting out things or reacting in a way that's not helpful, and it really hurts our it we end up feeling bad afterwards, and then we overcompensate for the behavior sometimes, or we end up just like going on into our onto our kids, and then they kind of maybe react and in a way that's not helpful either, and then it just continues the cycle and we feel super stuck. So the self-control is only about ourselves. We have to think about, how can I stop myself and how can I help that, and that's the only person you can truly have self-control over, is yourself in that moment. So let's talk about what that looks like just in terms of the cycle of anger. So I kind of think about, when behavior comes as the triggering event. So hey, I'm going to tell you, in the classroom with 22 little 5 and 6 year olds, I get triggers all day long. So I'm going to try to keep it real honest with myself and even me as a mom. I mean, I have older kids as well, but okay, so the triggering event happens. Okay, like everyone needs to be on the carpet and 5 kids are getting band-aids in the back of the classroom. I'm like, okay, triggering event. I need you here. I need us to start. I'm feeling stressed out. So then my negative thoughts are, why are they always doing that? This is not, they need to be on the rug. I wish they'd get here. So if I don't have self-control, my emotional response might be more out of, oh, you are just not coming over here. What? Get over here. We need to start the lesson. Let's go. And they're all not understanding what my urgency is because they're 5 and 6. And then my physical symptoms, I might literally feel like my heart's racing. Maybe I'm like maybe I'm not that angry, but I do feel the symptoms and I'm not even in touch with them. And then my behavioral response is just how I respond to them. It's like, get to the rug, let's go. And then they might respond to me back with, but we were just getting band-aids. And so it's the talking back and it never ends. And so the cycle of anger just continues when we don't stop and notice even just with the trigger and go, okay, what is this event? Why am I triggered? Because everyone has different triggers. Like my triggers might not be the same as yours, but when we immediately can stop and go, okay, what is this? Why am I triggered? And then even stop and go, what are the thoughts that are behind this? And why am I feeling these negative thoughts? That can really help you to stop and think before you make the emotional response, before you get into the physical symptoms that are raising your blood pressure and causing you to feel like you want to just, go crazy. And then the behavioral response that you're hoping for is not going to come, it's not going to be such a negative response from your kids. It's actually maybe going to be a more positive one if you stop it at the trigger and realize what it is and before you respond in a negative way. So I'm going to go more into maybe just some more just relative things that could be helpful. And please feel free, like at the end or even now, if you have something like a question and you have like a scenario, I'm happy to talk to you through it. I love to be a resource for you in that way. Okay, so, becoming aware of your own thoughts and feelings is a major accomplishment and the first step towards self control. The only person you can control is yourself. And so, if you stop for yourself and become aware of it, I cannot tell you how many times in the classroom when the kids have a lot of energy some days. Some, like, it could be like after lunch, they've just come in from like having so much fun. They're super excited, they're laughing, and they're just chatty. And I'm like, we need to get this done. It's become a practice for me to literally almost have an out of body experience and go, what am I feeling right now? What am I thinking right now? And I am able to have like this little conversation with Mrs. Trotter. What are you doing right now? What are you going to say to those kids? Why are you talking? If you yell at them, what's going to be the response? So literally I'm having this little back and forth conversation with myself before I even go into the talk with them. And so it's so helpful for me to realize, oh, if I start yelling boys and girls and start noticing all the like negative things, you're being so noisy, you don't have anything ready. I realize that I'm going to get more of that. But when I've stopped myself and thought, oh man, I'm feeling so stressed because I really want to get this done. And I realize that I need to help them get settled. So, what can I do? Oh, maybe I need to put on a calming video. We're going to take some deep breaths. So, that whole awareness is the first step. So, I don't know if that helps kind of resonate with you to go, man, I know that for me, sometimes if I don't have self control, I honestly can't get control of my class. And so that is so, so important for me. Um, all right, what's going on here? All right, let me go to the next slide. All right. So, what does that look like to have self-control? I'm going to be more practical here. All right. So when you have self-control and you're practicing it, the first one is retraining our minds. And I want you to picture yourself literally pivoting. So like you are walking down the road and all of a sudden you just stop and you pivot and you turn a completely opposite direction. And so when you're aware of your thoughts and feelings, when you retrain your mind, you're like, okay, that's it. I'm frustrated. I'm going to go in. I'm going to just start yelling at the kids because I need them to do something. Stop, take a step, pivot, and go, I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to become aware of my thoughts. I'm going to become aware of my emotions in all circumstances, whether it's a great circumstance, whether it's a negative circumstance. I want you to just start noticing yourself and your body and what you're feeling, because when you are aware of those things, that is so powerful and it really stops you in your tracks. And it helps you to go, oh, it helps me to realize, wow, I'm feeling really stressed right now. And when I'm stressed, I'm not going to model peace for my kids at all. And the other thing is, we're going to make mistakes. I just want you to know that when you have grace for yourself, when we beat ourselves up, that is when we continue to go down the negative cycle. So have grace for yourself and go, wow, that was an oops. I tell the kids that all the time. I'm like, wow, you had an oops moment. Let's just forgive ourselves. And I didn't respond the way I wanted to respond. It's okay to say, to apologize to your significant other. It's okay to respond to your children. I respond to my students. I'm so sorry if I made a mistake. If I don't want to be too big that I can't apologize if I made a mistake. I'm modeling that for them because it's okay to say sorry. It's okay to know that you messed up and you had an oops, because that's just how we learn. We are going to learn when we go, oh, that's not how I wanted it to go. I'm going to have a redo. And sometimes I do that with the kids. I go, hey, let's back it up. Let's have a redo. Let's go back up and I'm going to redo that conversation. And so we redo it and they giggle and laugh, but sometimes it's helpful to go, let's redo that and do it the way we thought we should handle it. And that always helps. And you know what? I'm going to tell you that kids are the most grace giving humans on this planet. We are often so hard on ourselves, but kids are so gracious. And when we just say, hey, I want to redo, I really didn't like the way that worked out. Let's do it again and play it and turn it into a game. They're usually so willing to go, yeah, let's try that again. And that models for them that you're human, that they're human, and that it's so much better to end it on a way that's like so helpful. And I just want you to know that having grace for yourself is such a huge thing, because when you beat yourself up, it just continues to be negative. Parents who have mastered self control are able to do the following. Okay, so you're going to focus on what you want the child to accomplish. Okay, you're going to focus on what you want. Often I think we were talking about this in the last one. We often think about what we don't want. We want it to stop. Don't do that. Quit it. Knock it off, right? We say these things all the time. I want you to start focusing on what you want your child to accomplish. Celebrate the child's successes and choices. Instead of just being super nebulous, be specific. Celebrate their successes. You did it. You made your bed, you pulled the covers up, you made your bed, you put your pillows on. That was so helpful. When you literally are like you're very specific with their successes and their choices, you did it. You ate 5 more bites of dinner, and now you're able to go and do your dishes and go play with your toys. When you are very specific, they actually know what you're giving them the praise for. Actually, you're actually helping their brains to understand what they did, instead of, oh, you're such a good girl, you're such a good boy. I don't even know what good and bad means. Actually, I just think behavior is communication, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But I don't see behavior as good or naughty. I don't even believe that. It's actually just communication. And so when we are just saying, you're being such a good girl, and kids tell me that, they come to school, they go, okay, I'm going to be such a good girl. I'm going to be such a good boy today. I go, okay, what does that mean? I don't even know what that means. And so I mean, I can have a feeling, but I know that we have to be more specific with our kids if we want them to actually own what they're doing, and not only feel like they're being loved when they're being like the perfect child that they're expecting. You really need to communicate specifically to them. Um, Also, seeing situations from the child's perspective as well as your own, because I think sometimes we are obviously in the role as parent and we feel this huge responsibility, but I think sometimes it's hard when we take multiple perspectives. I that's the whole pivoting, when I go, okay, man, they must be so overwhelmed right now. That's why they're having a hard time. Or, wow, they must be, maybe they're tired. That's why they're laying on the floor, right? Instead of going, get up, stop laying on the floor. It's like, wow, if I can see something from their perspective, it actually helps me have self control and to go, how can I help them, right? Instead of make them. Those are like, I go back to that. Um, and then creatively teaching the child how to communicate their wishes and frustrations with words in an acceptable manner. Now, I'm not saying you let them use whatever words they want and they just go off on you. That is not what I'm saying. But I think it's really helpful for them to learn how to use their assertive big voice with you to say, hey, I didn't like it when you helped them to explain to their sibling, or They're actually able to talk to you in a respectful way. Mommy, I didn't like it when you yelled at me that way. I really wanted you to help me um, do this. I really wanted you to help me put my toys away and not yell at me. I'm just giving an example. Helping your child communicate instead of like maybe sometimes your child goes directly to whining and crying. I don't want that. No, no. And all of a sudden you're triggered, right? Okay. So that's frustrating. So when they're calm, you can send them to maybe their safe place. When they're calm, you can express to them, hey, when you whine and cry, that is really overwhelming for me. And that doesn't get you what you need. And that doesn't get me what I need. So when you want something, I want you to try this and be very specific. I want you to say, um, could I have a cookie after dinner, please? And if I say no, the answer is no, but maybe you give them the choices. That's where the choices come in. You can't have a cookie tonight, but you can have a piece of fruit or you can have this granola bar. What's best for you? It's almost trying to get to a yes without constantly having those hard no's. Because when you have those hard no's, their little independent spirits want to start to dig in. But when you give choices, they start to feel like there's some freedom in there and they can choose something. And so that is super helpful. And then hold the child accountable to those teachings. So, bottom line is when you're holding them accountable, that's the not being just permissive and then giving in. It's actually saying, letting them have the natural consequences. Well, fine, I don't want anything. You didn't give me a cookie. Well, I offered you a piece of fruit or granola bar. I wanted a cookie. No, you chose, I said, a piece of fruit or granola bar. You can be a parrot. It's okay to be a parrot and keep saying it over and over. I don't want anything. No. Okay, that's fine. And so when they go to bed, let's take, for example, oh, I'm starving. I'm so hungry. My stomach's growling. There comes the empathy. Yeah, that can be tough to be hungry. We did offer choices. Remember, you could have had a piece of fruit or granola bar. And you know what? Breakfast will be here before you know it, but I'd be happy to read you a story and I'll see you in the morning, right? That's the natural consequence. They chose nothing. So they didn't choose either thing you offered them. Okay, so you're accountable. That's all it is. You are not going to give in and go, okay, let's go get a cookie right now, right? That's not going to do them any good. It's not going to do you good. They're going to realize if they whine long enough, they're going to get what they want. Just say, nope, now your choices are done. It's bedtime and we're not offering, the kitchen is closed and we'll be eating in the morning. But I do love you. It's like having that empathy, but holding your ground. It's like both. Hopefully that makes sense. But you do not have to be a pushover in order to have conscious discipline. It's like that kind and firm, kind of that balance, which is super, it's a practice. You have to practice it and try it on and make mistakes, but that's the only way to learn. It's like learning a new language, quite honestly. When you don't speak the language of what we're talking about here, it really is, you're going to make mistakes. Like I used to teach in a bilingual classroom speaking Spanish. Well, I didn't totally know everything, but I had to teach those children in Spanish. And so when I did conferences, parents did not speak any English. But you know what? If I didn't try, I would not be able to communicate with them. So for me, just trying to communicate and trying on this language with them, they were so gracious. And so I'm going to be honest with you. If you're just trying this on, trying the things like the language that we're talking about, and pivoting and stopping and self control, you're going to see the results and it's going to be just really beautiful. And you're going to feel better about just having more tools in your tool belt for parenting. Okay, so I just included, this is from the last session as well, but we're going to go over each one of these from the chapter two. And I reordered them a little bit because that's how it went in the book. So it's just the power of attention, what you focus on, you get more of, the power of love, see the best in one another, power of acceptance, the moment as it is, the power of perception, no one can make you angry without your permission, power of intention, conflict is an opportunity to teach, the power of free will, the only person you can make changes yourself, and the power of unity, focus on connecting instead of trying to be special. So it's just part of being that family connected instead of being like, I got to be right. Because I think sometimes we want to, that's when we want to end it on that. I'm right and that's it. I said it. And when you're always trying to be right and it shuts down a lot of unity and communication in a family unit. And so we don't want to go there with that. Okay. Why is this not moving on? Let's see here. There we go. Okay. So let's go to what you focus on, you get more of. So in the book, it talked about like, I think it like said like, don't think about a purple alligator or something like that, right? And the first thing you think of, purple alligator, right? And all of a sudden you have this picture in your mind, purple alligator right in your head, right? Learning to focus your attention on the outcomes that you desire bring enormous power. So I cannot tell you enough times when I see families, they might say, don't run. All of a sudden the child is sprinting, right? Don't jump off the couch. Next thing you know, the child's climbing on the couch, jumping off the couch, right? When you focus on whatever it is, you get more of. So if you're saying like, I want you to, get your dinner plate and I want you to go take it over to the sink and I want you to be helpful by washing your dishes off, right? I'm focusing on that. Or, hey, you're being so helpful with your sister. You are holding her hand, you're keeping her safe while we're walking in the store. That is so helpful. So see how instead of don't hit your sister, you're going to get hurt, or don't run in the store, right? Next thing you know, they're running through the store, they're under the clothes racks, right? It's like, wow, you are walking so safely with your sister. You're holding her hand, you're being careful, you're staying by mommy and daddy. That is so helpful. You're going to get the outcomes you want more than don't do this. So that's just a reminder to like whatever you focus on, you get more of. And that's that new language, because the new language is not easy because our human brains are wired to go negative all the time. We go for the negative. And so we all honestly always want to say, don't do this, be careful. It's almost like a fearful mentality as opposed to the assertive, positive, what we want. So when you are upset, you are always focused on what you don't want. Okay, so I want you to think about that. When we're upset about something that's happening, when we see it, all of a sudden it's just blaring. It's like whatever is happening, it's just like, I don't want you to do that. I want it to stop, right? So we just want to squash it and be like, knock it off. Don't do that. Stop doing that, right? And so when we're upset, that's why we have to calm our bodies down and pivot. So we have to literally stop. We feel ourselves getting upset. Stop, pivot, take a deep breath. Imagine like an expanding ball or whatever breath that looks like for you. We make up lots of breaths in the classroom. We do all kinds of breaths, but literally take those 3 cleansing breaths for yourself and really calm it down before you say anything to your child. Because when you're upset, things come out of your mouth that you wish you wouldn't have said, and it's just not helpful. Either it's a guilt trip, either it's just a reactive feeling, the trigger comes, and so that is not going to be helpful for you or your child, because then you have to go back and repair it, or you're not going to get the results you want, and then you're having to work harder, and it's super, super frustrating. Okay, this is huge for me to view children, and all of us, truly, honestly. I just view all of us as that we have behavior is like an iceberg. Okay, so literally what we see is that top part. We only see that small part at the top. We're seeing the top of the iceberg. So we're seeing, okay, for example, in the classroom, I'm seeing someone crying every day. Okay. I'm seeing someone throwing their pencils. I'm seeing someone like pushing in line. Okay. These are just examples of my classroom, what things would happen. Okay. Um, these are some of the questions that, kids aren't consciously asking, but this is what's happening. Am I safe? Am I loved? Do I matter? I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel scared. I feel hungry or tired. I am feeling overwhelmed. I have developmental delays. I can't communicate any other way. I feel overstimulated. I have sensory needs. I need understanding or help. That's what they're really saying. They, children often have behaviors because they cannot say what they need exactly how maybe you think they should say it. They don't have the prefrontal cortex. We talked about that it's not developed fully till they're 25. Um, they might feel anxiety, they might feel angry, but they can't express it. And so you're seeing like the outward, they could be running around crazy. Well, maybe they're exhausted. I tend to think kids act more crazy when they're tired. They get revved up and you're like, what in the world? Maybe you just need to go to bed. But sometimes we discipline them out of a thing of stop doing that, stop running around the house. Maybe we just need to calm them down, give them a nice warm bath, read them a story. Maybe they need bed. So it's like literally trying to look underneath the iceberg and go, what is it that's causing this behavior and how can I help, right? It goes back to that question, how can I help instead of how can I make them? So this is so powerful because you only see the small part and that iceberg is big underneath. So I just want you to be aware of that as you're thinking about behavior, because sometimes you cannot take it at face value. It's so much deeper than that. And so it actually helps me to go into their perspective and go, what do they need right now? And that gets me out of, oh, I'm going to change you, or I'm so frustrated, right? It's like, okay, what do I need to do to help this child in a better way? Maybe they're feeling super scared or sad or whatever that looks like. Okay, so being when you're asking your child to do something, be specific and assertive. We talked about this a little bit a few slides ago, but you literally need to paint a picture of what you want your child to do. That will teach them skills and lead to the behavior you're looking for. So, for example, in the classroom, if when we line up for lunch, I will say, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to stand up in your spot. I want you to have your hands like this. And I literally have to make my body's doing what I want them to do. So I'm like, and your hands are to your side like this. And I want you to go line up on the yellow line and you're facing forward like this. And your legs look like this. And I'm showing them my whole body. And so the more you can paint a picture of what you want them to do, I will say, and your lunch boxes stay on the side like this because it's not safe if you're swinging your lunch box around because someone might get hurt and they might get hit in the head. So we keep our lunch boxes safe. And we remember that we keep our bodies safe by giving our friends a bubble space so that we do not run into anybody and they have really, really frustrating thoughts about you. So I have to literally paint the picture about what I want them to do. So I think this what happens sometimes parents will say, um, pick up your toys, right? And the child that's maybe not the most organized of a child, you go pick up your toys. Literally, they're like, what? Like, you need to get on the ground with them before you get frustrated and go, why haven't you picked up that toys? You come back in 10 minutes, right? What's going on? Because you see them playing with their toys now. You need to get on the ground with them, get close, have them look at you with two eyes, get your eyes close to them, look at them and say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to pick up your toys and what I want. This is how I want your toys to look when they're cleaned up. This is the basket for your cars. This is the basket for your baby dolls. I want this is how I want you to clean up your toys every day. So when you are specific, they know, because what you think of cleaning up the toys and what they think cleaning up the toys is completely different. The other thing is, be good at school today. Be good at school. Okay, again, what does that mean? What does be good at school mean, right? We have to paint the picture. If you want to describe for them what you think good is, I want you to be specific. When you're at school, I want you to be a helpful listener. I want you to keep your body sitting on the rug and listening to Mrs. Trotter. I want you to be respectful to your friends. Teach them what respect means. Please take nothing for granted for your kids. Everything you explain and paint that picture is going to be so powerful for their brains. It helps them. The painting the picture will help their prefrontal cortex, and then your communication is clear for them, and then they know what to expect from you as well. And it really, really helps. All right, so practicing the power of love. Um, the power of love is huge because it's really, really sometimes when we feel not so loving, right? Um, we don't see the best in people. And so what something we do every day in the classroom is we wish people well. And I'm going to encourage you to do that just maybe with your significant others, with your kids. Do it silently from your heart. But something we do in class every day is we show love to our friends even when they're not at school. So we think about, we do a wish well. We have someone who goes up and we have pictures of all the kids on a little circle board. Whoever's not at school, that person puts their picture on a little heart in the middle. And then we are going to wish them well. And then I also say, boys and girls, you may not be feeling very great today either, but you're at school. But if you need a wish well, raise your hand. And so they raise their hand if they're not feeling good. Maybe they're sad, they're tired, whatever. And so what we do is we put our hands over our heart and we all close our eyes and we think for 3 seconds of the people that are not present at school, and we think about the people that raise their hand. And then we literally just think about them, and we're wishing them well from our hearts. So then we sing this song. We just go, we wish you well. We wish you well. All through the day today, we wish you well. And when we wish them well, I see kids closing their eyes tight. They're thinking about their friends. They're showing, I'm teaching them how to love others, but even when they're not present. And when kids come back to school, they're like, did you wish me well? Yep, we sure did. And we missed you. Welcome back. Right. And then also I've had parents tell me, oh, my child really wants make sure that you wish them well today when they're not at school. If they let me know their child's not going to be at school, I'm like, oh, don't worry, we will. We always do. Um, Another thing, the second thing is attribute a positive intent in all situations. I think oftentimes we do this as adults. We immediately go to the negative. Why did they do that? Oh my goodness, what was their intention, right? We think negative about them. And I've really been trying to, even for myself, to think, I'm going to attribute a positive. Oh, you really wanted your pencil sharpened. So you went over and um, you got a new pencil out of the drawer when you're not supposed to be in that drawer. Okay, I see a positive intent. So, like, trying to put on a new way, like, instead of viewing it as they're trying to hurt you, you can become more empowered by seeing that, hey, they're positive intent. There's something positive in maybe the child's behavior, and that's the power of love. Affirm to yourself, what I offer to others, I give to myself. So when I'm offering that power of love to others, I'm actually giving it to myself too, and I'm giving grace for myself. And then I'm actually a more pleasant person to be around when I'm offering grace to others and love to others. I'm actually loving myself in return, which is so powerful too, because you know what? It's a vibe, and the kids feel the vibe, and I feel the vibe when I'm giving love, and I know they feel it because literally they'll come over and just like hug my leg or something. I'm like, okay, they're feeling the vibe of love because I'm offering love to them instead of like barking orders at them. They feel the vibe. And so I'm just going to be honest that that vibe is powerful. So just be aware of it and notice. It's really powerful. Okay. So acceptance. Acceptance is huge. Blame. So blame, accepting the moment as it is. Okay, so your child's throwing a tantrum. All right, well, here it is. It's not going to go away, right? And if we fight it, if we fight the experience, then it's still gonna be there, and it's so uncomfortable. So then we start blaming, right? Why is my kid doing this? I wish they'd stop, right? And blame is a response to an uncomfortable situation. So when we're blaming, we just want it off of ourselves, right? Oh, why did he do that? Why did she do that? We need to accept it for what it is. Okay, I don't like this situation. I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. I'm feeling super angry right now that my child's choosing this. But you know what? I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to think about positive intent. What is their intent in this moment? Um, Everyone, I have teenagers, so I want you to know that I really have to practice this, right? Positive intent. I often want to blame. Why are they thinking that? What are they doing? Right? No, I have to honestly go, okay, positive intent. What is it there? And then I think too, so we're programmed to believe that in order to change something, we have to resist it. So I need to change this. I'm going to stop this behavior, right? Oh, I'm going to give you an example from today. So, this little guy in class today, we were practicing drawing something and he was having such a tough time. So he kept leaving his paper and throwing himself on the rug and rolling around and this is so I can't do it, right? And obviously I'm feeling kind of triggered because I actually had like a lot of kids in the classroom. I had extra beyond my own. And so I was like, okay, well, I could either start yelling at him and being like, stop doing that right now, get over here. But I just said, I picked up his paper and I kept up with the directed drawing on the YouTube channel. And then I said, hey, come on over here. And he came and stood by me and I kind of got him caught up and I said, hey, just watch. I'm with you. I'm with you. You're safe. Let's just keep going. And before I knew it, I had my arm around his like little waist and I said, you got this. I'm with you. And I had him caught up. And then he goes, oh, okay, well, I can do this now. And okay, thanks. I got this. Thanks, Mrs. Trotter. Like I could have just literally squashed his spirit and just said, stop doing that. Why are you crying? This is not a big deal. This looks great. I didn't fight it. I literally just said, you know what? I didn't say anything. I picked up his board and kept on going. And then I just invited him over to watch me. And then he just picked up because he felt the safety that I was a safe place. And so I didn't need to change his behavior, but he just joined in. And that is the power of acceptance. I accepted it and it made it through. So we don't need to approve of the moment. We don't, because you know what? I'm not approving of that moment. I am not approving of a tantrum on the rug in the middle of the class. Believe me, I'm not approving of that. That is not fun. But you know what? I'm acknowledging it's happening. It's there. It's there. I'm going to happen. It's there. I can't change it. I can't control that someone gets frustrated with a drawing, but I can just take a deep breath and control my own feelings and stop and not yell at him. And it really worked. So this is powerful and it's really helped me a lot. Okay, so perception. No one can make you angry without your permission. And I know that some parents have asked me about this. And so I tell them, I tell kids that you're the boss of your brain, but we've talked about that when you're the boss of your brain, it only helps you make really helpful decisions, not tell your parents, I'm the boss of my brain and I don't have to listen to you. We've had a discussion about that this week. That, I think oftentimes kids say, she made me so angry because she took the bike away from me. I go, oh, well, no one can make you angry without your permission. Did you like it? No, I didn't like it. All right. I want you to go and tell them, I didn't like it when you took the bike away from me. I want you to ask me next time. And so I want you to think about that for yourself. I think oftentimes we say that, look what you made me do. You made me spill the juice all over because you were crying, right? We're putting this blame on our kids, right? Because we're frustrated. It's uncomfortable. We're mad because the juice spilled. Don't force me to send you to timeout. Well, I guess that's your choice if you want to choose timeout. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. Timeout, when you tell your child to go think about their behavior for 5 minutes, you know what? They're not thinking about their behavior. I'd much rather them go to a safe place and self-regulate with like a squeezy ball or like a drawing a picture, and then you're able to talk about their feelings after, rather than sitting in their bedroom with timeout. Because honestly, what did you learn from your timeout? That my walls are white. I mean, honestly, I don't think they think about anything that just happened. They actually just want to come out of their room and be connected. And so it's really important that we're not blaming our children. We really are being assertive. Also, you are driving me nuts, right? We say that sometimes because we're so frustrated. But you know what? They're only driving you nuts if you let them. So again, you have the permission, take the power back in your hands and know that you can handle it by taking deep breaths, and no one can make you angry without your permission. So that's very powerful for me too. Because if I say that to my students, you are making me so angry. You keep talking so much, right? Guess what? They're not going to really stop talking. They're actually going to see that they got my attention. They're probably going to keep talking more and they're going to get more crazy. I have to have the tools in order to notice kids who are following directions, and the others will follow along when I pick out things that are being helpful instead of hurtful. Okay, so I love this picture. Unmet expectations are the killer of all joy in relationships. You are never upset for the reason you think you are. I think so often we have unmet expectations from either just humans in general with relationships with others, but also with our kids. We aren't communicating as clearly as we need to, and so sometimes we don't want them to do something, but we that we're holding their expectations so high. Maybe we're thinking we didn't train them enough, but we go, I told you that, don't you know how to do that? But again, we talked about that kids need hundreds of times of practice before they really get it in their brain for mastery. So unmet expectations are the killer of joy. And so you know what, sometimes parenting is hard. It is a journey and it is not joy filled sometimes. It is hard work. I will be honest. But the more that we can have clear expectations, our expectations will be met. And then we're not going to always feel so distraught and so overwhelmed with our parenting. We're going to actually have some joy in those moments and feel like you have more tools in your tool belt. And I want you to think about, what are you upset about? Because sometimes it can be the smallest little thing and we're all, that does it, right? There might be some things that your child's repeating over and over again. And it's the one last thing. It's like that straw. Oh, that's it, right? So we have to think about, okay, what is it that they keep doing that I'm triggered by that maybe I need to teach them more? Maybe I need to sit down with them and show them how that I expect them to behave in this scenario. What does it look like? If they're constantly doing the same thing over and over and we're getting triggered over and over again, it's probably that we need to examine, what is the disconnect here? What do they know? We're the adult. We have the power to train them. And so we can help train them in what they're missing, not how can I make them by punishing them. We have to actually teach them. Remember, discipline is to train and to teach. So we need to make sure we're doing that, because we do not want to look like this father and son where they're literally exasperated with each other, right? Because that can be the moments. I mean, aren't we all there sometimes? Yes, we are. And I feel it. So I know that the unmet expectations are huge. We really have to express our expectations to our kids. Okay, intention. Many parents equate disobedience with disrespect. I know that's so hard, but I'm going to be honest. I don't really think our kids, remember, go back to the iceberg. Um, yes, our kids are definitely trying to assert their will because they are going to try to be their own person. You guys, as soon as they come to us on this earth, they're going to start asserting, right? They cry because they're hungry. They are going to want a toy. They're going to start talking and say what they want. But disobedience might mean, you know what? Maybe they've been trained that they can talk back to you and over and over and over again. And then you break down and give in. And so then you think, why are you being so disrespectful? Well, we need to train them, right? If you feel like your child's being disrespectful, you need to say, you know what, this is what it looks like to follow my directions when you go to bed. And I'm also visuals. Like if you want your child to really follow, maybe they're having trouble getting ready in the morning, maybe they're having trouble going to bed at night, taking pictures of your child doing whatever specifically you want them to do and putting like a chart and having them look at it. Visuals help their brain to connect. If you really, and make it with them, it really helps them to understand what to do. If you tell them, often it just goes in one ear and out the other, but the visual really helps them. If you take pictures of them doing something, you are going to have so much more of better time of them understanding what you expect of them. And so the disobedience might come with them not understanding or not knowing what you expect of them. And so then oftentimes, if you feel like they're disrespecting you, well, then it's a link between your child's behavior and your own competence, right? So then we get embarrassed, right? It's like, oh my goodness, you were just being so disobedient. So now I'm not a good parent. So now you're being disrespectful and now I'm going to punish you, right? So we have to go back and go, okay, what is it about that I have not trained them in yet to teach them how to do it better? We do forget that children do not yet have all the emotional and intellectual abilities of grown-ups, right? Again, they look, sometimes they have language to us that we think, oh my goodness, they're sounding so grown up. But you have to remember that they are 5 and 6 and even younger, depending if you have littles. They don't have the intellectual ability that you do. So you have to remember that instead of thinking, taking what they say at face value. I don't even take it personal. I'm going to give you something that might come up later, but honestly, this helps me in so many ways. I want you to say this to somebody in your house. I want you to say Q-tip. Okay. Q-tip. This is what it stands for. Quit taking it personal. Quit taking it personal. Okay. So a kid tells me, I'm going to give an example. In the morning, a kid says to me, um, I don't like it when you, I don't like it when you take my pencil away. You're so mean, Mrs. Trotter. Whoa. Q-tip. Okay. I wonder why they feel that way. I stop, I take a deep breath before I go in and I go, I wonder what they're feeling right now. Maybe they're feeling nervous that they're not going to have something to write with when it's time to write. Literally, I have to think about all the scenarios of why they're maybe kind of being kind of maybe disrespectful to me, right? But I have to Q-tip it, quit taking it personal, because if I take it personal, they're not trying to hurt me. You have to remember that your child is not, they do not wake up in the morning and go, I cannot wait to make my mom and dad's life the worst day ever. Okay. No child comes to school and says, Mrs. Trotter, just wait, your day is going to be bad, right? They don't ever say that. So I want you to think about this. Q-tip, quit taking it personal. Yesterday, somebody said something to me and someone's like, wow, that was kind of rude. And I go, you know what? I'm going to Q-tip it. Quit taking it personal, because I'm not going to take it personal. This is not about me. I'm going to own the parts I need to own, but it's not about me. So just remember that with intention, because sometimes we can really take kids' behavior at face value and it's not always what it is. So just remember that. All right. So when conflict occurs, breathe deeply and say, here is an opportunity to teach and learn. I just really want you to think about that, because this is a new way. Sometimes we fly off the handle right away, and it does not help us and it does not help our kids. Breathe deeply. And the key is 3 breaths. Take those 3 really deep through your nose, fill your lungs with air, breathe out through your mouth 3 times. It's going to really be helpful. Each of us carries around an image of how we think the world should work. We tell in our brains, we all have our own story in our brain. Oh, this is how things should work. This is how my world works. This is how you need to fit into my world. We all have it. We don't say it all the time. So we have when we have people around us, people clearly start to understand, like, oh, this is how they think the world should work, right? And so when our kids don't exactly fit into the way we think the world should work, that's when everything happens, right? And so we actually need to fill people in with how we kind of our story that we share. And so they understand what's happening in our brain, because that goes back to that unmet expectations, right? And then it comes to the Q-tip, quit taking it personal, because we have to really be able to express ourselves and communicate clearly, because no one can read your mind. So we have to make sure we're communicating clearly. All right. So the power of intention. Ask yourself, what is my intention in this situation? Do you intend to make your child feel, hold on, I'm covering this up, feel bad? Or is your intention to help them succeed? Do you intend to teach, or do you intend to punish? I'm going to tell you that if you're helping your child feel bad or punish them, it's going to happen again, over and over and over again. But if your intention is to help them succeed, and your intention is to help them just to teach, well, then you're going to actually get more. You're going to actually learn so much more about your child. It's going to actually it's longer. I'm going to be honest, it takes longer for you to be able to express what you need from your child and how to help them. But you know what? Your child is gonna learn it better and it's gonna get better. I promise. If you teach them instead of just punishing them, that's the easy way out. That's quicker, but it's not gonna go away. And I encourage you to teach and I encourage you to think, how can I help them succeed? It's the longer road, but it will pay off and it's so much better. Okay. The power of unity. We have just a couple more slides here and then I'll take some questions. When we truly connect with something or someone other than ourselves, we are transformed into caring, compassionate, self disciplined individuals. Ask yourself, do I want to be special? Which, when I'm talking about special, of course, we want to feel special, but if we're talking about being right, okay, sometimes we always want to be right. And when we're always wanting to be right, we shut others out. Or do I want to connect? And so it is so easy to say, just shut it down. I'm right. I'm going to be special. What I say goes. Or you can say, I want to connect. I'm going to understand the iceberg of my child. I'm going to understand what they need and I am going to help them. And I want to connect. I want to connect. I'm going to be honest, you guys, I have an 18-year-old and 18-year-old boys, you know what? They're really trying to assert themselves in a new way of life and he still lives at home. And I can either say, I am going to be right and I am going to have control over you because you still live in my home. Or I can say, you know what? I actually want connection. I want connection with you. I want that relationship to stay intact with you. And so as I'm speaking to you with littles, if you it might be easy right now to shut it down and to be like, okay, I squash that behavior, I squash that behavior, I put fear in them and they're done. Okay, it's done, the behavior's gone. I want you to fast forward about 10 years from now when they're teenagers. Okay. I want you to understand that that will not work forever. So if you try doing these things now, you are going to have a lifelong relationship that is unifying, caring, and loving because eventually your child will not want to hear your fear tactics. They will shut you out and they will rebel or they will hide. And I'm not trying to put fear in you, but I'm also trying to tell you, put this into practice now because what you highlight, the highlighter analogy, if you're highlighting all like negative things and I really want you to highlight the journey of them, what they're learning in their life. The highlighter analogy in the book was talking about like when they get good grades on their report card. Oh, you got good grades. You're so smart, right? They're highlighting the smartness instead of, wow, you must have really worked hard in class. That takes a lot of perseverance. That's a different thing to say to them as opposed to, you're so smart, right? When you say things like that, I want you to think about what you're highlighting. The unity, I want you to think about how you're creating unifying statements instead of just control. And unity is self control in action. And when we have self control, we're actually taking care of ourselves and then modeling that for our kids. So it's coming back full circle to what we started talking about. I put this in last time, but it's so important because as I just shared with you about just fast forwarding even 10 years, discipline is a lifelong journey. It's not a technique. There's no handbook, but I will tell you that when you do take time to take care of yourself and to make sure that you're filled up and to take time to have self control, you're going to enjoy that journey so much more with your child. And it's a new way. I know I was not parented this way. And I'll be honest, I didn't quite even parent my own kids even this way because I've learned more through the years. And so, me learning more through the years has helped me become a better teacher of just, oh, I really want to be a better mom to my adult children. And I want to be a better teacher to the little children who need me to be modeling self regulation for them and modeling emotional intelligence so that they can have a better way of like expressing themselves and being assertive but yet kind and compassionate and having all those character qualities that we want in our kids. So it's so important. I also put the same resources in. If you haven't followed some of those people on Instagram, Kaylee Kukla, she does some great stuff. So if you are not on Instagram, that's okay. But if you are, Kaylee Kukla does some really relevant stuff. I think she has little kids and so her of her own. So she's powerful. Mary Van Geffen is very funny and she also gives great tips. Um, and I don't know if you've had time to check out the Conscious Discipline website, but that's also very great. Um, and so that is what I have for you tonight. I'm going to stop my sharing. Is there any questions or anything that you want to ask me before we wrap it up tonight? Anything practical or anything that just maybe that was confusing on the PowerPoint or anything? I'm happy to answer any questions for you. Anything in the chat? Hi,
Mrs.
Kimberly.
Trotter, can you
Yeah,
hear me?
please. Yes.
Do you have any suggestions for like, I find it challenging to kind of be practice all this, like being very intentional and thinking about my reaction to things and then implementing a lot of the stuff when you're in a time crunch. Like, for example, like trying to get out the door in the morning, and then like they're like the kids are fighting over a toy and I'm trying to get Matthew out of the door, like, and it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I could take the time to like breathe and then like think about what each child is communicating with this behavior and trying to like, but then it's like 10 minutes later.
Totally. So, you know what? So here's the thing. So yes, in the moment, you can't change what's happening because it's like it feels chaotic and it is what it is. And that's comes that what's with the acceptance of what it is, right? It is what it is, and you cannot change in the moment. The only thing you can change in that moment is just your response to try to take your own deep breaths and to stay centered. That's all you can do in that moment. And then you can reflect later when it's like, okay, this is maybe it's a now when everybody's calm and you can take like it's a 10-minute learning session at night whenever, hey, in the morning, or and whatever it is you need to be training your kids on. Okay, the arguing, the fighting, the not getting ready quick enough, the not eating our breakfast, whatever that looks like. um just chisel away at one thing at a time that you want to tackle, but not in the moment. You can't do it in the moment. The only thing you can do in the moment is breathe, try to stay calm, and that's all you can control in that moment. You can control nothing else. um, you can say, if you have nothing else to say to your kids in that moment and you feel like you're going to blow, just just try to be like, just watch them. They will watch you breathe, and if you say nothing, it's and I those mirroring, there's something called a mirroring neuron. So when you breathe, you don't need to say breathe, you can just say, you can just do, and try to not look like you're super angry, but like just because you feel it, but just if you take those breaths and just maybe with your hands, just breathe. That's the only thing you can do in that moment, and then tackle the things later one by one that you feel are not working well, and then start to kind of go, okay, what is the routine that needs to be better? How do I need to make pictures? Do I need to train into what it looks like with sibling rivalry, or how to get out the door? Like, just start to make a list of things and then just chisel away with them one by one, because you cannot handle all those things at once. The only thing you can do is just go, okay, this is an opportunity to teach. I'm going to make a mental note, or I'm going to write it down, or I'm going to make a voice recording. Check sibling rivalry later. I'll check. We'll make a little, we'll deal with that later, right? That would be something I would recommend, because in the moment it's so stressful in the moment. You can't, nothing's going to be taught anyways. It's just not. So just do your best to get out the door. Okay, buckled in, let's go. Okay, I'm in the car. So I don't know. Does that help to make sense? I'm not sure that helps you, but I just know you cannot tackle anything in the moment for sure.
Yeah, that does help. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And it's a new way, and give yourself grace, like I said, because you guys, it's a lot. It's a lot to tackle. Even if you're parenting the way you've always parented, it's still, parenting is just hard. So then you're trying out a whole new language of way you're saying things, and that's hard too. So just know that you can't tackle it all. I always tell teachers that I train in this, hey, please don't come in my classroom and go, oh my gosh, you say everything the right way. I can never be like you. I forget it. You need to come teach my class. I'm like, No, 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 no. I've been doing this for many years. And so I've had to walk away and come home at night and go, oh, why did I say that? I wish I've had a lot of oopses too. So just know that it's not easy when you're trying something new. Have grace for yourself because it's taken many years to try new things. So just know that. Okay. Anything else I can answer for anybody? No? Okay. Well, I so appreciate everyone here tonight. Thank you so much. And I will share this recording out just because it's helpful for other people that are working. I know that some people can't, or they're just putting kids to bed and it's just not convenient. But our next book club will be on December 14th and chapter 3. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please ask and I'm happy to answer them. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye. Good night, kids. Have a good evening. Bye bye.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye. Sure. Bye.
Yes, you